January 27th, 2026, Finance Committee meeting. This evening we have myself, Mike Lunar, we have Chuck, we have Kevin, we have Ann in the room. Due to the weather, we also have folks that have connected via conference call. We have Kathleen, Mike Flanagan, and Jason Hunter. Mike Andrews did send me a note he would not be able to make it this evening. So that's, we have everybody that we can get. All right, we have the couple of things. Again, I'm going to make note again, we still have $35,000 in the reserve fund. I have as yet not received a hard copy, signed copy of the reserved payout that we authorized 3 weeks ago, I believe it was.
It's been a few weeks, yeah.
I have followed up through email. I will send another email again, just to again, put that out there. But you know, we know the reality is we have less than that. We believe that was it 13 or something? I'd have to look to see our notes. 17. Thank you, Kathy. So we know we have less, but that's it. The only other thing I had for business I wanted to get us out of the way, what I'm thinking is we have to just go over that 2025 report, the Whitman Finance Committee, that has to be turned in by this Friday. But I'm going to just defer that for right now. We do have Josh McNeil in with us from the IT department. And you're here and you've come out on the cold and the nasty, so we'll kick off with you. We've just heard the introduction, Josh. I don't know if have you met everybody here?
I don't believe so, no.
So,
Kevin Wolf.
Kevin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. And I'm Ann Zuniga. We may have
Yeah, possibly.
like slightly.
Yes.
I might have been.
Yeah, at the end of
when
last
exactly
year.
I started. I can't remember if I went over the IT budget.
Oh, makes
and
sense.
on the phone we have Jason and Mike, who I don't believe were on the committee last year. Were you guys?
Yeah, they came on late, right
Yeah, I
after.
was here.
I believe I
Okay.
met them.
Here in
Yeah.
August.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, well, thank you for sending all the documentation electronically earlier today. I forwarded it to everybody. But go ahead, tell us what's happening in the IT world here.
Excellent. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the IT budget. I think it's important to highlight the fact that, again, there's only two of us right now trying to accomplish, to support, all the town departments, including the library. What was me for 10 years, I was able to get a second person to help us do, support the environment. I think as a small town, it may sound like, we really can't afford, a big tech, as I think Mike had, mentioned. But I think from the overall scope of things, big tech and little tech, I guess trying to compare the two is kind of a bit challenging because of the fact that, unfortunately, regardless of the size of the community, we're all sort of trying to do the same thing. And I've tried a few times to get into discussions about regionalizing with the schools, because, again, if I back up a little bit, I worked for the schools for 16 years way back when, and we did have an agreement with both towns, the town of Whitman and Hanson, and we did support, the towns for quite a few years. More of like, again, this was before sort of, the not before the internet, but before all this high-speed internet, and as far as Comcast goes, and we had dial-up modems back then, and we really didn't have the infrastructure we have today. So really, it was more break fix. They called up with some common questions. They were trying to do something in Excel or Word, and that's the support we provided to the towns. Fast forward, several years, and we had probably, I think, 5 people trying to support 7 schools plus 2 towns. Over 10,000 user accounts. It was just way too much. Became a point where we had to make the ultimate decision. The towns had to determine, whether they were going to go on their own, because the schools were, still in a budget situation. And unfortunately, the schools wanted more money, and the towns didn't want to provide that money without having a dedicated person in the town. So it became a, trying to push and shove who's going to be the boss here in relation to, okay, well, I'm paying how much money and I don't have somebody dedicated here. And it just, unfortunately, we both towns ended up backing out, Whitman first, and then Hanson ended up backing out and going on their own, which was unfortunate. But again, the collaboration has to be there in order for all this to happen, and unfortunately, I think it sort of fell apart. Over the past few years, before this whole financial situation occurred with the schools, I made mention of that, trying to talk and bring back that sort of setup. And unfortunately, our town leadership did not want to support it, for obvious reasons. And one, obviously, the friction was there in relation to the overall budget situation. I get it, and all I can do is make recommendations. I can't obviously force the town to connect with the schools, but so I'm trying as best I can. I started a group back in 2012 when I transitioned to the town to get everyone collaborating from the town's perspective, from all the different area towns. Some didn't even have IT directors at the time, so essentially now bringing everyone to the table to talk about what we need to do, not just in Whitman, but also in other towns that don't have IT directors. They do now, because I worked with East Bridgewater, I worked with Hanson, and unfortunately, back then it was was a lot smaller. Today, it is a lot more involved with it. There's a lot of security, as you know, and quite a few towns and cities have went ahead and basically added a cybersecurity specialist to their team to just sort of focus on the security aspect of things, to securing the environment and so on and so forth. And we're one department that doesn't have an administrative assistant. And yes, we're a small department. We're 2 people, but again, we still take quite a few calls every day. I have to sit down at times to pay invoices and do all that stuff that could ultimately be done with an administrative assistant if we had one. And I'm happy to, I've talked to, the facilities department and sharing a resource to do 2 days for tech and 2 days for facilities. And, again, we're always looking at ways we can try to, save money and try to provide that same level of service, to the community. So, and I get it. Obviously, we're under tight budgets. So, if the town feels that they can't sort of afford it, then obviously we pass over it. But I think it's important for me, as the IT director, to bring it to to the board's attention, or the select board, as well as the finance committee, to highlight the fact that these are sort of positions we really could use. So, to go down to professional development, we talked about that last year in relation to training. We don't have a budget for training. Essentially, we pull out of I want to say a $7,000, training expense from the select board. Which again, an IT class is like $1,500 to $3,000, depending on, so $7,000 doesn't go too far, and $7,000 is essentially shared by all the departments. So, I'm still in a disagreement with that, but again, I put it on there for the fact that, again, we don't have money within the technology budget for employee training. Security awareness training, we did get the grant again from the state to basically pay for our security awareness training. So that used to cost us probably roughly $3,000 a year. So we haven't been paying that, I want to say 3 or 4 years now, which is good. And we just got the notification recently in the last week that we got the renewal on it, so there's no cost there.
Quick question on that one. Is that cybersecurity training for the IT department, or is that what we're seeing from
Yes, what you're seeing from Bill before, exactly. So
Okay.
it's for the staff, awareness training, not to do with, we still, from the IT perspective, take the, same training that everyone else takes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not training for our team.
Okay.
GIS expenses, was no increase there. Obviously we're trying as best we can to, offset costs where possible. And I've made connections with all the vendors like I do every year to, negotiate and try to keep things down. I did have vendors come in for FY26 with higher costs, and I told them, unfortunately, we don't have the money because you didn't request that, you didn't give me enough time, or I told you when I need to know about these costs, or you're not going to get the money. And we have, discussions, and unfortunately they had to accept the fact that, hey, this is what the approved budget was, and unfortunately, you can't just assume we're going to pay more if in fact you don't tell us
Can you
before our town meeting.
Can you just not sure everybody knows what the GIS software is for, or the system is really?
Yeah, so the GIS essentially is mapping. We do have Access GIS, which is our geographic information system, mapping system that many of the departments use. More specifically, fire and public works for their work that they do. And then we also have Nearmap, which basically is more used by the assessor's office, and it gives them, the ability to go back 5 years and sort of see what's changed on the ground. So if people are installing pools, if they're installing sheds, if they're installing, and they're not pulling permits, well, we have now visibility into saying, hey, wait a minute, there wasn't a shed there last year. Well, there wasn't a pool there last year. How are you doing this without pulling permits? And I think the software probably pays for itself in relation to potentially recapture on, some of the work. And obviously from a safety perspective, we'd never had that visibility, if you will, unless we did a flyover. And we did do flyovers before Nearmap even came to fruition. And we actually worked with surrounding towns to share the cost of the flyover, because trying to do a flyover yourself is, very expensive. So we did, 12, I think, or 15 communities in Plymouth County to sort of share that cost, and had a fly over. But we're only flying over probably every other year, or every 2-3 years maybe. So you're really not capturing that full scale of the ability from the assessors to be able to fully assess what's going on out there. And Esri is actually part of the mapping software, and it integrates with Nearmap. So Nearmap uses Esri as part of their layout and their software. So it's another required component of the GIS. And then the annual map maintenance is essentially an agreement that we have between CAI. They work with the assessor's office to change any of the, if you have new developments in town, they basically create those new parcels and label them and put them on the map, and so on and so forth. So any type of, if somebody wants to sell, a large, parcel of land and they want to split it up, that's all, handled in this setup here. So, but again, I reached out to the vendors that we worked with, and we were able to try and, keep things at, level for this year. And again, during the pandemic, these companies were more open to, no increases. But as we, phase out now, we're obviously 6 years out from the pandemic. They're starting to sort of recapture, if you will, their losses over the course of the last 5 years. So don't be surprised if we start seeing increases, in excess of 5% on some of these lines over the course of the next few years. The cloud services, I mean, the minimal, I think, a 4.7% overall. I don't want to say minimal, but the roughly 4,000, just over 4,000, I think, total. And again, I put down the percentages for that, each category, so you can see it. This is probably one of the most transparent budgets that's probably submitted to the Finance Committee in relation to what we do, how we do it, and what the cost is. I mean, I can certainly go into further detail with it, but if you look at the line items, you can see the, one of the lines we obviously dropped by 20% because we got a grant that basically is providing us with $4,000 a year for the next 3 years that basically pays for a portion of that service. So obviously we're saving, again, $4,000. And after that 3-year mark, we'll have to talk about increasing the actual cost. We added more cameras, of course, at the new Public Works facility, so we're picking up a little bit of an increase from the cost on adding those additional cameras for FY27. And I think the larger one is the identity at the bottom. The identity and access management with inside cloud services is like $3,094. We were using a piece of software for many years now. Essentially talks to our personnel system and automatically creates the user accounts and the email accounts, as the employees are getting hired, and then as they get, retire or terminated, it automatically, disables the accounts and takes care of all that provisioning automatically, so we don't have to think about it, and we don't have user accounts sitting there for years that are enabled and no one's using them. That's now transitioning to the cloud, as many services are these days. So we were paying, I think, $586. You can see it down in the software where it's being minused out in the software section. We were paying $586, for a year, and now we're paying, basically $2,500 more, because now that, again, we take that software away locally, and it's now in the cloud, and we don't have to manage it. It's all cloud based. So of course there's a cost for that. Hardware maintenance. We have a data center here at the town hall and a data center at the police station. The servers have basically, when we purchase servers, they have a 3-year warranty, and we can extend them out a few years after that. Once that extension is reached, HP no longer allows us to, go beyond a certain extent, and we have to basically start working with a managed service provider to provide coverage for these servers until we go ahead and replace them at a later date. So we're essentially, basically, looking for additional money to make sure we have the coverage we need for the servers that are in the data center here at the town hall and the data center at the police station. That's the big one for the hardware maintenance. Software maintenance, again, 3.4% overall. The accounting, treasury collections, that's the 2.4% increase. That's your average, 2.4, 2.5, 3%, something around that. Software maintenance for police records. So we've been using the same, what they call computer assisted dispatch system for police, since before 2012, let's say that. And unfortunately, it's end of life, and we have to go look for a replacement. But unfortunately, our financial system that I'm going to talk about is sort of, I guess, more important at this point, according to the town. So we're focusing on a new financial management system at this point before we tackle the software for the police. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where we've been seeing increases from them, and somewhere in the I don't know, 5, 6, 7%. Now we're at 9% this year. I honestly don't see it going down, to be honest with you. So I think once we get this financial system beyond us, I'm hopeful that'll be our next major project, is replacing the records management system. Assess Pro increased 10.3%. I definitely double from what we're normally used to seeing. Again, this is software that the assessors use, not something that we can try to, we try to negotiate the best we can, and we certainly had the conversation with them at least twice, and unfortunately they basically told us that, this is what you get. Unfortunately, we can't do anything better. So that's where we stand. We did receive a grant for critical infrastructure. Again, you have to understand we're on recording right now, so I can't really mention specifics on this, but I will. You do see it on the document here. We did receive a grant for $65,000 that we used to install and replace critical infrastructure. That basically pays for 3 years of the services that you see. So we'll be looking at, probably, I think, FY 29. We'll have to add money into the budget. The current quote, I want to say, is like $16,000. Again, we were paying $8,000 previous to the grant. So I'm not surprised to see that number. But the grant covers us through FY 29. So. which was good. Telecommunications stayed the same. The telephone line stayed the same. Contracted services. So, surprisingly, again, in order to add the second position, I had to try and find a way to offset the increase in the salary, cost in order to do that. And one of those was to eliminate or take some of that money from contracted services that we use. Because essentially looking at our budget, it's a large bucket of money, if you will, in relation to the services that we use it for. And whether one service is higher or lower, it's just, again, one bucket. We have to, it's not set in stone in relation to each one of these categories. I just want to make that clear. But, when we set aside money like this in relation to providing that service, we, from a contract perspective, to bring a contractor in for a day is like $1,500. So it's $5,000 doesn't get us too far, and even $10,000 doesn't get us too far. So we've been trying to build in any type of contract services that are required for projects into the actual project, whereas before we were paying for some of the work that was being done from the actual expense budget if we could actually afford it. But clearly, based on the number, we can't do that. So we're trying to offset where we can. And again, the unexpected, we can't. If we need direct assistance, we need to be able to use that money to get that service that we need. Copiers. Over the last few years, we started to transition from the buy model to the lease model. I did provide a copier listing so you can see it, along with the meter counts to show, what the actual counts are for all the copiers. And you can see the numbers, you look at them and you say, geez, they're not even like, some of them are like, 200,000, some of them are $500,000, might not be a lot. But if you look at the actual install date, and realize the copiers, some of them, are over 10 years old or whatnot, you realize that, unfortunately, technology changes as we all know, rapidly. And I think we've realized that, the 5-year mark is most likely the magic number in relation to making sure that we have a reliable device in the departments, and a secure device, because again, these manufacturers, after so many years, they start no longer supporting or no longer providing, software updates for the devices. So as much as the leasing model was a little bit more money when we looked at it, a few years ago, I think the functionality, usability, I think from the department's perspective, I think it makes them a lot, I don't want to say happier, but when they need to use a copier, it's there for them. They don't have to worry about, part issues. We did have an issue in the building department, I think a few years ago, before they got the newer copier back in 19, where the copier was out of service for, 3 weeks or a month.
Are these copies or combined printers too with them? The copies and printers?
Yes. Yep.
Multifunction device.
Yep. Yeah. I eliminated quite a few printers when I started back in 2012. We had printers, just like the schools did. It was, basically, and I just tried to eliminated all the fax machines, and I put all the fax machines now come to the copier, and they no longer print. The faxes are sent to email. So, we've tried to, save money and conserve where we could, and really.
You guys don't pay per copy though, right? The colored or black and white?
We have color at the police department and a color for the patrons at the library. Those are the only two color copies we have.
They charge per copy? Does it include the supplies?
The actual cost for the leasing does not include supplies. We do have a managed print agreement in place for those, so we are charged. It's a crazy low, rate for the actual. And I can certainly send those agreements to you to see them, but they're not.
Sorry, my company, we pay per
per click, what they call it.
Per page, and it's basically what per page. Color's like 13 cents, and the other one is like 9 cents, something like that.
Yeah,
no. And they have electronics, they know exactly what you're using.
Yep.
And they maintain it, and they supply all the supplies.
Yeah, no, we could. From what we're paying, we can't find anything low. It's like, I'm surprised. I don't even know how they're offering what they're offering for you, to be honest with you, at the rate that they're actually offering us, because it's pretty crazy. But I'm not going to argue with it. We've been doing it for quite a few years and it's worked. So, they automatically send out the toner when the copiers need it. We don't have to get involved in it. So essentially, they automatically get notifications. They send the toner out to the department. It's being replaced, and they're happy. So.
What about the hardware? It's the hardware maintenance, printer maintenance for the
regular printers.
regular printers?
Yeah, the regular printers they have in the various offices.
What kind of printers are they?
HP LaserJet printers.
What are they using them for? Similar to it?
One of them, I think the treasurer's office prints checks out of them.
Okay.
There's a printer in the dispatch for records. There's a printer in the roll call room, I believe, upstairs. I mean, there's definitely small printers that areas they don't have copiers.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have to have maintenance kits installed in them, and we have to have stuff done to them, and we have to take care of it. It's a small fleet of devices, but unfortunately it costs money. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, that's a nutshell on the budget itself. I mean, we do have two capital articles. One for replacing smartboard that was installed in the police department's roll call room when the police station was built back in 2010, 2011. This device is the original device that was on the wall. They use it when they do every shift. They have the shift in the roll call room, and they review various things in relation to the previous shift and any upcoming situations that they have to deal with and talk about. They need that board to be able to showcase what's going on, and unfortunately it's end of life when we can't get replacement bulbs for it anymore, and it's definitely needs to be replaced. So. And then the other one was the card access servers. Again, I think the servers were replaced already once. This will be the second time.
Was that recently?
What's that?
Was that recently? Those card holders? Was you talking about this right here? The front page?
Yes, the card access, yeah. That wasn't recent. No.
Was it?
No. No, we can replace the actual components. There's like modules that are in the electric room at the police station, the different modules that connect all the doors and stuff like that, but we never replaced the...
The schools, didn't we do something with the schools too?
The schools replaced theirs.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and they're on a completely different system, and those are the conversations that really should be had, and talked about, because it would be best to be on the same solution so that you could, share the costs and do all that kind of stuff. But it's unfortunate that we're not on a better level for collaboration, because we could probably do a lot more in relation to cost sharing and purchasing and. But again, you can't change the world, so all you can do is make the recommendations.
True.
But yeah, I mean, aside from those two capital items that were listed in the budget, I'm happy to take any questions if you have any in relation to. And then I'll mention one last thing before.
I just have one in the online permitting right here.
Yes.
You have the firepermits.com open permits.
Yes.
Couldn't it be rolled into the another line item? The online permitting and licensing, wouldn't go in there? You have it in there for the building department, board of selectmen, board of health, and the fire department. In that line, couldn't they do the online permitting for the fire permits?
So it's a different company. They don't do fire permitting. The Permitize is what we use for all the other permitting in relation to the alcoholic beverage permitting, and the board of health uses it for permitting, and the building department. That's the one thing they don't do is fire, like burning permits, which is exactly what that is, the burning permits.
Yeah, I want to point out to everybody that the cloud services, the hardware maintenance, the software maintenance, telecommunications, contract services, and copiers are all in line 585 of the budget. So, again, thank you, Josh, because you break this down, right? Just coming in and saying, hey, I need $270,000. We're asking for more this year, but last time it was $270,000. Mm-hmm. There's two things for us to remember. This is the actual list of everything that makes up that, right? The line items don't go there. The other piece is, and we talked about this. He and I talked, because I'm the rep for the IT team. the challenge is, this isn't really IT's budget. This is all of the other departments. And we haven't figured out how does that work, right? Is there a charge back?
Should be, right?
Theoretically, right, some of the stuff should be charged to those departments, but they all show up on the IT's piece, which is fine. But if we're saying no to anything that he's asking for, we're actually saying no to multiple departments whose budget probably is bigger than what it looks like in their budgets. It's a little wanky.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that was one of the things that I wanted to mention, and the fact that I think that town meeting needs to be aware of this as well, and the fact that, you know, prior to, like, when 2012, we had want to say a $75,000 expense budget for technology, and I worked with the previous town administrator, Frank Lynham, to better understand what the technology budget was back then, and then worked with all the departments to capture all of the stuff that they had in their budgets for. Instead of having them all buying their own printers or buying their own stuff, we consolidated money to have technology handle the actual procurement of computers and printers and so on and so forth, and software as well. Because, you know, a lot of these departments, you know, you need to have negotiation skills. You just can't accept what people are, you know, wanting to charge you, and they say, oh yeah, okay, no problem. You know, I mean, if that were the case, then we'd be broke. You know, so it's just one of those things where, unfortunately, you know, centralizing the expenses is a great idea, but if not, you don't understand that's what's being done, then of course, you know, looking at this and, geez, 9.6% increase in the budget. I mean, normally we see a 3. You know, at the end of the day, you know, it's not so bad if you divide that amongst all the departments and come out to like 1 point something, you know what I mean, per department. But definitely a valid point, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the facilities where we're putting all the utilities. We're trying to pull all the utilities from the separate line items and just put them under that one department. That's the same piece here. But I do think that it's lost when we look at it, because we go back to the department is spending this. Well, yeah, kind of, right?
Overall.
But
The cybersecurity specialists, what would they, I mean, again, broadly cybersecurity is what they'd be focusing on.
Right, exactly.
But sort of what's the driver for the need? And just because I'm new here, when did you go from just yourself? When did you add the assistant director?
So initially it was 2 years ago. I want to say Steve Burke started in 2022 or 23. We started Steve as a contractor initially, as a technology specialist, because that's the actual position that was created initially, and realizing that, you know, I don't want to say our job titles mean nothing, but if you've worked in the actual public sector, you have to realize that, you know, you have to be a jack of all trades, if you will, in relation to what we do. So as much as you want to say, you know, title yourself as an IT director or a facilities director, regardless of what you're doing, like I was literally doing part of the facilities job before we had a facilities manager. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with gets thrown at us, and you guys got to figure it out. What do you mean? Why do we got to figure it out? It's nothing to do with technology, right? No, but nobody else wants to do it, so here you go. You know, so you really have to, you know, be understanding the fact that, unfortunately, stuff needs to be done. Well, someone's got to do it, and we got to figure out who's going to do it. So at the end of the day, the cyber security specialists, to answer your question, their primary focus would be on security in relation to making sure the firewalls are updated, working with the users on the cybersecurity training to make sure, you know, the users are actually taking their training, following up with them if they have any questions, you know, dealing with the phishing emails, and because we, you know, do phishing testing, you know, periodically to make sure people aren't clicking on links and downloading attachments and so on and so forth. Well, someone has to sort of do all that work, and it's just part of what we do. So again, every day is a different day for us. I mean, sometimes we come in and realize that, unfortunately, yeah, we had 7 things on our list to do today. Well, unfortunately, we got none of those 7 done, but we did 6 other things. Unfortunately, the primary focus would be of security nature, but we'd also be utilizing that person to do other duties, of course, that needed to be done in relation to tech. So, again, the primary focus would be more security than anything else. I mean, we have to update, firmware, software on the, copiers and so on and so forth. We have backup devices that are basically batteries that are, part of the data centers. Well, there's also software or firmware on those management cards that are connecting to the network. Well, with all these security vulnerabilities and all that, I mean, you have to stay on top of all this stuff, and that's part of part of the plan would be to make sure that we are staying more focused on some of these things that we're not 100% committed to right now in relation to timing.
What about the administrative assistant shared with the facilities at $55,000? Is that 110,000 split?
No.
So it's 55,000.
So,
Yeah, Todd brought that up when he was in.
he did, yeah. And him and I talked,
Yeah.
because again, I was an advocate for that position, his position to be created, because again,
Yeah.
technology was doing some of the stuff for facilities, so I'm again trying to share costs where we can to
No,
try and,
it's just kind of convoluted because people don't understand what you're trying to do on the public.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely.
And, I mean,
Yep.
my recommendation, if you're going to take a cybersecurity specialist, make them kind of an admin and keep it in your own department and not splitting it with anybody else, another department, especially labor. My recommendation.
The administrative assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of merge them together because if you're gonna start saying, well, I'm moving this person over here, splitting it over here, and that's the biggest problem we have, I think, in the town. One of the problems.
Yeah.
If we're sharing stuff, and it's like you got to kind of separate your own department, especially for labor. I mean, that's the biggest cost of doing business is labor.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah.
It's the first thing that goes when you have to cut.
Yeah, like I said, I'm all up. I'm all ears as far as listening to feedback and certainly trying to do what's best. Like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll take a full-time position for technology, but I'll also
Yeah.
realize that obviously money's tight, and I'll do whatever we can to. I'll be happy to get 2 days a week, like I said, for someone to actually help us out and just actually deal with paying the invoices that we get and receive. And it's just unfortunately time-consuming. Some of these things that. I don't want to say tedious, but again, you're paying, X amount of money for us to deal with stuff that could otherwise be dealt with by, someone else,
I had a question.
Sure.
At what level, from an experience perspective, could you get for that salary for the cybersecurity specialist? Because I know that's kind of one of those niche.
Yeah, I mean, it's $80,000 is I mean, I don't want to say low, but I think it's at a rate that, again, we talked from other municipalities and what, starting point we start at. And I've even worked with CyberTrust, which was one of the companies that worked with us on the audit, on the cyber audit that we did. And in trying to get, possibly starting up an internship, program. But again, we don't have the resources internally to be able to manage an internship because we just don't have someone to work with the intern as closely as we should in relation to the program's requirements. But, I think, again, $80,000 based on what the discussions that we had, I think was a fair starting point. I mean, yeah, you're not going to get the, Excel caliber, top caliber person for $80,000 probably.
But they have the relevant certs and certain.
Yeah, you might get someone starting off that has initial certs, or you might get, you're not going to get someone that's,
Yeah, weren't you working with Bridgewater State too? They
Yes.
have a program.
Yeah, I worked with Bridgewater State in the beginning to create that new cyber center that, they created several years ago. And, again, we've talked about, how can we, get more cyber security sort of specialists, through training at Bridgewater. Now they have that training center, which is great. But, they originally talked about maybe offering an intern at no cost, and now they're talking about the town paying a portion of some cost to have the interns do some work. So it's unfortunately, I don't want to say nothing's free today, but.
Yeah.
Again, I'm all ears for anything you can find out there. If there's something that you see or hear, certainly feel free to reach out and we'll talk about it and see what we can do to, incorporate it. But,
One question, Josh.
Sure.
Does the schools, the districts, have any cybersecurity specialists now? Or how's that handled for them? Do you know?
to my knowledge, no. The schools don't even have an IT director, and I don't know why, but. After what they went through, I'm not sure. They did have one, and then I think he I don't know if he resigned or they terminated him, or I'm not sure exactly what happened. But, and I'm not talking bad. I just, in general, I'm not. I'm at this day and age, based on the environment we're dealing with. I'm a little surprised that.
Yeah,
they don't-
and my only reason for the question, although what Al said about not sharing is obviously got a good point too. And the thought was too, like when you said back in the day, you guys worked with the schools, but you helped support the towns, but didn't know if, then look at that, and maybe that was, if they had something that could be shared amongst.
Yeah, I mean, I think
but
there's because of the whole financial situation, and not just in Whitman, but I think Duxbury's having this situation. There's a lot of communities that are dealing with this financial constraints, and we've been trying to figure out how can we best utilize the money and still provide that similar service. And I think at the end of the day, could we, work with facilities? I think being in the same sort of, I don't want to say organization, because essentially it is. The schools have their own organization, if you will, as a district.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different, I think, trying to collaborate with a district rather than collaborating with two departments in the same town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The district was also another
and then-
town you're dealing with too,
Yeah,
Plus
you're dealing. I mean, it's just who's the boss, and who
Right.
you're reporting to. And it's just,
Yeah, well, plus just going through the whole budgeting process where theirs is there, and if you guys, I've been on this committee for a long time, and you see a lot different stuff coming from the town departments than you do from the district.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. I mean, the only other one thing, does anybody have any questions?
I want to just add, we have folks on the phone, and I know it's hard sometimes. Anyone have any questions? Jason, Mike, Kathleen?
Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
And it may be what Josh is going to bring up next, but I know Mary Beth has stated her number one priority is the financial software.
Yep.
Are you going to talk about that, Josh?
That's next.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else on the phone there? Is it Jason?
Jason? Okay, thanks, Jason.
All right, so the budget as presented here, if you look at the software and maintenance, the accounting and treasury collection, so FY26 is $41,000, FY27 is $42,000. So hold that thought for a moment. And yes, our existing financial management system is SoftWrite.
right.
I honestly don't even remember when it was actually installed, to be honest with you, because I actually was in 2012 when I had transitioned from the schools to the town. It was already here, so it was here before then. And unfortunately, we've been paying X amount of money for quite a few years now for, in my opinion, a legacy piece of software that is antiquated, doesn't have the 21st century tools that we need and that you need as a finance committee to be able to have better insight into what's going on in relation to these towns'
Yes,
financial.
and we have heard that from some of the other people who have come to work here and discovered that we have had basically an old system.
Yes,
pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
An old and funky system.
Unfortunately, it's I think one of the reasons why we haven't had much movement in there is because it's a lot of money to move to something else. Not only because you have to pay for something new, but you have to sort of migrate your data from your existing system to the new system. You have training costs, and there's just a lot of time involved in doing that transition. So. We've been very successful in getting a variety of different grants over the years. Like I said, I mentioned the critical infrastructure, grant we received. We also just, received a grant that we just finished that was due at the end of December for creating some plans. I'll say that much. But that was. $100,000 as well, in addition to finishing our fiber network ring around the town, which was another $182,000 grant. So we do get a lot of grant money. So we're trying for this grant. Is due, I think, the end of next week, which is up to $200,000 to for whatever your IT project is that you're looking to go at, and unfortunately, the financial system is our top priority at this point in relation to any type of grants that we do get. So we're trying our best to get the money. I can't guarantee we're going to get 200,000. We'll put together a great package in relation to what we need, why we need it, and how it's going to help the town, and hope that the state awards us the max to give us the opportunity to move forward with this. The quote that I did send to Mike Warner, I believe you forwarded to the committee. So
Yeah.
I do have a paper copy here, but I only have one copy. I'm happy to pass it around the room. We've been going through a couple of different variations of options in relation to the various modules, because there's a financial module, there's a revenue module, which are two critical modules that are really required. Then there's the HR module, which I believe, again, I think we should have all of them, and I'd love to have all of them, but very, very expensive to be able to, do everything. It's a possibility that we can somehow finagle things to give us the opportunity to try and get as much as we can. And again, I've been successful in negotiating a little bit here. Initially, they dropped us a 10% discount. They just recently finally went up to 20%. So we'll obviously continue the numbers and try to continue negotiations and see what we can get, but. In essence, this quote here would give us the financial management as well as the revenue management. Missing again, the HR component, and missing, I think, the utility billing that would have to be done, in the existing system. Which again, these are the various different aspects of the system. Now, if we were actually just sort of using our existing system for the two, it's going to be less money than what we're paying now, of course, for our old system. I'd rather not use the old system at all, but unfortunately, unless we have $350,000 to do everything, we're probably not going to get there. We can certainly add modules as we move along in the years ahead here, and maybe go after another grant to do HR. But again, I'm not going to, we're not going to be making the ultimate decision here. We're going to try and our best to negotiate pricing, get the grant for the 200,000, and then we'll work with the vendor to try and figure out how to move forward here with what we need as far as the town's concerned. I just wanted to bring this up because the cost that we're paying now is or will be potentially in 27 if we don't get that grant or we don't move forward with this project, then it will be $42,000. Well, that $42,000 just with these two base packages here is going to turn into $54,695. 42 to 54, doesn't seem like, it's obviously more money, of course. As a taxpayer myself, the last thing I want to do is spend more money. But at the end of the day, we're not doubling, that number. But again, I don't want to throw, a specific number out there in relation to what we're going to be at. I'm giving you an example of, this is what the number looks like with just the financial and the revenue management. And I know the town's going to want utility billing, which is another part of that piece. But I want to break it up into sections so we can understand what it is the cost is going to be per phase, if you will, in relation. If we were to phase this out over a 2, 3, 4 year phase, what is that going to look like? Because if we don't get fully off of the existing system, we still have to pay a portion of money to use a legacy old system. Which I'd rather not do, but again.
Josh, who's going for the grants? Are you doing it yourself?
Yeah.
That's a good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wish more departments would be like you.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably
because there's a lot of money out there.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of money out there. It's just a matter of having the time to put these grant applications together. I mean, we replaced the public safety radio system, probably about 7 years ago, I think, that unfortunately needs to be done again when we moved the police department to the digital radio system. And I mean, we've done quite a bit with grants, and I appreciate that.
Didn't we talk about that? Didn't we talk about that a few years back? I don't know if you went on the committee. Yeah, we talked about that, having someone, I think it was in the selectman's office or...
Yeah. Well, when they were looking to redo the assistant town administrator, or there was another hire, what did they want to focus on? At one point, there was discussion about somebody who's
Grant writing.
strong grant writing
Right.
skills,
Yeah.
spend a lot of time doing that. And that would be good, take a little time off of, because obviously Josh is spending time doing that.
Right, right.
Outside of his technology duties.
Not right.
So, yeah, I mean, but the key, I'm no grant writer, but the key is to have somebody who can write it up well.
Yeah, you just got to
Yeah.
present a good story and explain what you're trying to do. And unfortunately, the grants are competitive, so not every community gets the opportunity to get money. And in some cases, I mean, we've had a few grants where the states reached out and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts on X amount of money? We can't, we're trying to give them, as much money as we can to various communities. Unfortunately, if we give you the full amount, we're not able to give the, next door or whatever it might be." And so there have been a couple of times where I've reached out to vendors and said, "Listen, the state's, willing to give us X amount of money. What can you do for us?" And, in a lot of cases, they'll
Yeah.
work with you on it and make it work. But if you don't ask the question, unfortunately,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's tough. But just, again, keep this in the back pocket in relation to, unfortunately, this is probably 1 year that the technology budget expense line anyways is probably a little dynamic at this point. It may change based on this financial package. we
Right,
do
that's
in
not
relation to the
included
grant.
in the budget as it stands today.
Correct, exactly. Because unfortunately, without knowing the grant, I don't want to put something that's false in there,
Yeah.
So when are you going to find out if you get the grant?
Typically,
After the budget?
No, the deadline for the grant, the application deadline is February 5th. I want to say we will know by probably mid-March, late March.
It's not that turnaround.
So we'll definitely know before, I'd say before April 1st anyways. So, before town meeting, we'll definitely have a grasp on what the number looks like, and then we'll go from there. And fortunately, again, if we have other sources of funding and we're able to, make this all happen, this would be great. I think,
obviously.
once we get over this and we get a system in place, to have a workflow and require, the departments to use purchase orders and, do the proper procurement, and it just, being able to search for a particular purchase and see all the stuff tied to it, it's just, you can't do that now. You got to go to a filing cabinet,
Oh, you're kidding me. Oh,
and
wow, really?
Yeah.
it's just time consuming. It's not as efficient. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Either email or whatever, and we'll provide whatever.
Nice
additional
presentation,
documentation.
Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting this all together.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you again.
Okay.
See you this evening.
Yeah, it's good to see
See you,
you.
man.
Stay warm.
Oh, yeah.
After the meeting was canceled, there's nobody parked out front. I was going to call you, is there a meeting going on?
I actually parked out back.
My wife drove by. I don't think he was at the town hall. I go, Mike would have
Well,
called.
the snowbanks there.
Yeah.
Right now, we're all
They don't show me?
I only want to tell you, of course.
All righty. We should have the accountant coming in 7:30. I haven't seen anything saying otherwise.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Josh.
The meeting's at 7:15 though.
What's
The
that?
meeting online says 7:15. Finance committee.
On the calendar?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's talk technology. They support the website.
Let's say 7. Yeah, it's 7:15.
Shouldn't, but okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to just see what I sent out the 2025 report. I took a shot at it. Kathleen, thank you for sending me the last version. I did print out a copy if anybody wanted to, or 2 copies if people want to read them.
I would.
There you go. I try not to be too much, but it's a whole year's worth of stuff. But you also have the electronic copies.
Yeah.
I need to get that in apparently by this Friday, and they don't work at the town hall on Friday, so this is by Thursday. Hi. So, I don't know if people have had a chance. I did have a couple of folks that have,
I read through it.
Email me
It looks good to me.
okay,
No, that's-
thanks, Kevin.
We're in violation.
Interesting.
So,
See You were super early.
What's that?
You were super early.
Yeah, always early.
That's why it was so confusing. You walked in.
Just to get parking.
On the first page, that 2/3 of the way down, should it be through the end of December 2025? Or is it really, does it go back that?
Hold on. You know,
It's the calendar year 2025.
right, so this is calendar year 2025, not fiscal year, so it's January to December. I did start us a little earlier, because it made no sense to me to just say, all right, January 1st we did this, because we do
Okay.
so much of our work, end of November and December, so I wanted to just
Okay.
touch on it and just say, here's where we started, but realistically, it's supposed to cover the calendar year,
Got it.
which made it really hard to write, because I'm thinking in, our fiscal year
Budget year, yeah.
is when you'd want to have the report. It's not.
Thanks, sir.
Good to me.
Yeah, so if, take a quick look at it either tonight or just send me something. I do want to, like I said, send it up. I'll submit it over to them because they do need it this week. And don't get a lot of options for that, so.
Mike, could I offer something?
Yeah,
I know that having written last year's report, we could write a novel about what the Finance Committee does in one calendar year. And so I think
Yep.
that you've done a great job of hitting the high points, the important points of what we had to deal with in our calendar year 2025. So I don't have any issues with that. I think it's a good report. I read the annual reports, not just ours, but sometimes I go back to 2010 and see what the fire department was doing. So I think it's important for the annual reports to be submitted by each of the committees and departments. And I think what you've put together is accurate, and I don't think it's missing anything. I do appreciate you acknowledging Ralph Mitchell. Ralph was a great guy, and we do miss his common sense. So I appreciate that. So I think the report is fine the way it is, but others can add their comments if they haven't had a chance to review it yet.
so let's, like I said, if you can, either tonight or tomorrow, just so I have a chance to get it up there, because I should say here, 12-point Arial font in Word format only. You got to send it up here by Friday, January 30th. I'd rather just get it off my plate anyways, just to make sure that nobody comes chasing me down.
I read it, Mike. I think you did a good job with it.
Alrighty, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, as I read it now, it does. It's a little different from what we normally
Yeah.
do, but it does highlight what we faced and some of the challenges. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm reading.
Okay. All right, so
To vote on it tonight or not?
We can
I
after.
would like to, but
Yeah.
we have somebody coming here to visit us, so I want to make
You wanna
you wait.
go back to it after?
Yeah, let's just return to that one in a few, and then just queuing up all my stuff here. Too many.
Yeah, this is.
Everybody ready? Okie dokies. Jennifer. Come on up if you want, and thank you for giving us just a minute
Of
to
course.
kind
Nice to meet you all.
of sneak stuff in.
Yeah, we'll do a meet and greet.
Yeah, my name's Mike Warner.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Chuck Colby.
Nice to meet you.
Val Cafferty, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Captain Wall.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Ann Zuniga.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
I'm
meet you.
Jennifer.
We do have some folks that weren't able to be in
Okay.
tonight, so we have
They're
Kathleen,
they're on the
Mike
phone.
Flanagan, and Jason Hunter. If you could each just say hello, that would be nice.
Hi, Jen. You've met me because
Yes.
I borrowed your stapler from time to time.
Hi, Jen. Nice to meet you.
Nice
This
to
is
meet you.
Jason Hunter.
Okay.
Hi, Jen. This is Mike Flanagan.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
All right.
Have you done one of these before?
I have not. This is my first one.
Okay, well, they're not too brutal.
Yeah.
Our purpose is, as the Finance Committee, is to review what the budgetary plans are for each department.
Yep.
And look at that holistically across all of the town, as well as what we have for revenue numbers, and make recommendations to the town administrator and the
Okay.
select board. We are not a decision-making body, we're a recommendation body.
Right. Got
All
it.
right, so this is your chance to tell us what you're thinking. I know that you've had some instructions about
Yep.
how to, what to do and how to do it. But we also want to hear the other stuff,
Yeah,
where,
of course.
where there's holes that you think, if we had all the money in the world, that would make your life easier.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
Does everyone have a copy?
No.
Should I make a couple? Sorry.
Should have, well, you have electronic copy.
Okay.
No,
Al,
Can anybody borrow that, or you need that?
I do make a copy.
No, it's
I
not. Don't worry.
see.
No,
Okay.
okay.
I mean, the accountant's office is a relatively small budget. We only have really a couple lines. So, to start off, we just have my salary, which is a 2.5% increase from last year. So nothing really array there. That was the Mary Beth's recommendation, was the 2.5%. And then Paula, my assistant, her salary also went up, due to her union salary contract, everything normal. And then the only thing that's kind of different is we had an expense line of $1,200 this past year. Previously, it was on the $1,400 mark. So I did up it back to $1,400, an increase of $200. As we stand right now, supply-wise and just any association fees that we have to pay, everything's going up. So we are very low. We have around $300 left for this fiscal year, and we are, needing additional supplies, as well as I will have to go to the MMAAA conference in March. So any associated fees with that as well. So very small budget, but I will say the only thing that I did not obviously level fund was the expense line of $200.
I don't know. We can do it.
I know.
yeah.
So that you did put $1,000 in for certification.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I ended up taking that out
Oh, okay.
because so the spring of next fiscal year, I have enough credits to take the certification exam, but until I officially pass, I think it's 2 years with the town, I won't have enough credits to actually become certified. So that would be 2028.
Yeah, I remember when Ken had to do that.
Yeah. So that ended up being taken out because when I read it initially, I was like, okay, there's a possibility, but that's just to sit to take the exam. So.
Okay. So one thing that we do mention is that they've tried to move, training is what I believe they call it, underneath the town administrator and select boards.
Select board. Yeah.
Yeah, their line item.
Education one.
Yeah, and they're trying to move everything into there, but
Yeah.
it's grossly underfunded if we take a look at everybody.
Yeah.
But that would be the first thing to ask is, should it be a line item in your budget or should it be,
A line of
I want you to get the money, I think we all want you to get the money, be certified and have,
Yep.
right, that sort of thing. It's just a
Definitely.
question of which line item
Okay.
does it go under.
Okay. I can make
Right.
note of that.
Yeah. And if not, if Mary Beth says, well, no, we're going to keep this here, that's fine. It just, I just
Okay.
want to make sure that it's what the plan is. That's all.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Hey, Mike, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Kathleen.
And so, Jen, how awful is the soft right system? We've had an accountant who lasted maybe 5 weeks, and when she departed a year or two ago, she said she couldn't believe that our town was still using that system. So could you don't have to elaborate at length, but can you give us a little insight into how hard it is working with soft right?
Yeah, so I think the system itself is very much outdated. I was previously using Tyler Technologies where I last worked, and the flow of the system from department to department was so much simpler, whereas now, I mean, I'm getting abatement and exemption packets in person coming from downstairs rather than it automatically being flowed into the system and me having to go in and just approve it. I'm, kind of rebuilding it on my end and then posting it. So that's kind of one example. It's double the work in some senses. Journal entry wise, you have to do a 2-part journal entry for if you want to do an interfund transfer. So instead of doing one journal entry, you have to book one, you have to post it, you have to go back, you have to book the other side, and then it might not hit all the different accounts correctly, like you might need to, amend an appropriation line. You have to go back and do that manually. It's kind of, you have to do every single piece separate. And then as for the biggest issue is we're running out of simply account numbers. There's a couple, objects, sub-objects, programs, and they're mostly all taken up at this point. So to build an account number is rather hard. So, yeah.
Yeah, I asked for that information because I've talked to Mary Beth from time to time, and she is frantic about replacing the software with something that she mentioned running out of account numbers, which I can't imagine a software program not having that capacity, but I believe it does.
Yeah.
You just confirmed it. So I think when I come up with, I know Josh touched on going out for new software. It really is something that I think is critical, not just for the accountant, but for the entire budgeting system. Treasurer, collector, town administrator. This is
Definitely
crucial to have correct accounts, and it sounds like you're spending 3 times as much time entering a simple piece of information if you only have the right software.
Definitely.
Are you involved with the discussions on what software package would be ideal?
Yes, I have been involved. Most recently, I'm sure Josh touched on it, but they were going to try and look into Munis with a grant. So there was, a couple different options there. We would have to shave off some of the different buckets and extras that it comes with to meet the amount of money for the grant. But that's definitely an option. We looked into, I'm sure he told you, payroll options as well. So that would be a question of, will we bring payroll in-house with a Munis system, or would we, still go out and see what there is to offer.
Do we do payroll? Do we outservice payroll?
We outservice right now to CDS down the street, but he's retiring in the next couple of years. So he's rolling off payroll.
Okay, what are you guys paying him though?
I'm not sure what the contract is. I could get it.
Try to find out what it is, see if you
Which
can roll it
depart-
into your budget, roll
Which
it into-
department owns it?
Right. I believe it's the treasurer's office that owns it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That,
Yeah.
that obviously makes a lot of sense. All this, updating onto it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts, but definitely something to consider for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts us back to, if we had 5-year plans across the board from all the departments, we could maybe space it out.
Yeah.
Right now, we're kind of hitting
Could have been
these issues where
saving for it the
everybody
last couple
needs
years,
it.
yeah.
They put it off for so long, and then bang, 1 year is just, it's undoable, right?
Yeah.
But it might be a good recommendation back to the select board to
Yeah.
say, let's look at this a little bigger picture
Yeah.
and not keep fighting the fires.
Hey, Kathleen, question.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think if we don't get that grant, is this important enough that they might look at that? Would it be like a capital committee, like a capital article, or?
Yes, we've discussed it at the Capital Committee, and Mary Beth has made it extremely clear that this is her #1 capital priority. And if it doesn't come through with the grant, that we only have $500,000, if that, to spend on the fiscal 27 capital items, and this would be her number one request, the software package be purchased.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you think if we got the grant, maybe they'd still focus on adding a module?
We haven't had that discussion,
Okay,
so I don't know, Chuck, but
all right, thank you.
it's possible. Yep.
Yep. It's on somebody's radar.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's good. Let's
Yeah.
figure out how to do it.
Anything else that would help? Do you, I mean,
Not too many worries besides that.
No?
No.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How long have you been with us?
About 7 or 8 months.
Right. Right.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, not long.
Thought it was a little shorter.
You
June.
live in town?
I'm from Bridgewater,
Okay.
so not far. Yeah.
All right.
anything else?
Nice presentation.
That's all from me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sylvia,
Thank
before
you, nice
please.
meeting you, yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye, have a good one. Stay warm.
You too.
Okay. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
It was nice that it was scheduled so that came and talked
Yeah,
about the software.
good times.
Yeah.
Came and you know,
Perfect.
you get the whole picture.
Yeah, you can see that, there's many people focused on it. And it's true. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been here, but yeah, that's software.
Need it.
I'm no accountant, and I just know I've heard that it's,
To be doing that stuff in paper and filing cabinets is
Awful.
insane in 2026.
It's awful.
yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
explains why it takes 4 or 5 years to get
There's smoke signals from the basement coming up.
review of what,
Yeah.
right? Audits.
Carrier
audits are
pigeon.
taking, what, 2 or 3 years now?
Yeah. Besides more efficiency, will that help prevent any fiscal mistakes or
Errors, yeah.
oversights?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, those would be great questions, really, for Josh and for Jen. But
Yeah.
I would assume so. I think Josh had made a mention that the current software is basically they're shutting it down. So we don't have an option. At some point, the person's been running, I think he's at 35 years or something like that, and he's retiring. That's it. He doesn't want to keep the thing running anymore. Anything new is going to have, obviously, the latest financial models built into it. It's going to have the tools and the technology thrown in there, but more importantly would be, I would think, when they change rules, laws, bylaws, tax rates, all that stuff, that's going to be brutal to move it into an old system.
Yep.
yeah.
Now these are just modules, right? You have to pay for it, but they're going to give you something. You load it, bang. Well, okay,
Right.
we're ready to go,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
We're one step away from clay tablet and cuneiform downstairs. It's crazy. You know? Okay.
I'm comfortable making a motion to approve the report.
Okay.
I'm good too, Mike.
And
I'll second that.
Okay. Right. Questions on it? I do okay for writing?
Yeah.
Did a nice job, Mike.
Very right to the point, too, you know.
I don't think I was too harsh, but I absolutely called out a few
Yeah.
things that, it's not the first time we've said this stuff.
No.
I echoed some of what Kathleen, you put in last year.
Now it's in writing.
Yep.
That's good.
All right. With that, let's just do a vote. Yeah, we'll do a roll call. So Chuck,
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Mike, Flanagan, Jason.
Yes.
Okay, and I will say yes, just to make us happy. All right, so there. All right, so thank you. I will prepare that stuff and send it over to them so that it's off of our plate. It's late, well, not too bad for one really big report but two very important groups for us. We've completed 16 of 22 meetings. We have two that We have two that have not responded. Well, one, still haven't heard anything back from the Historical Commission. I'm not really too worried about it, but I like them. I'd like to meet them, and I have not heard back from the town clerk about rescheduling theirs. Next week, we have two more, I believe it is. Come on, stop. Yes, so next week, February 3rd, welcome to the second month of the year. Town administrator is at 6:45, so right off the bat. And then we get our little break, which we haven't been able to get a lot of, but I'm okay with that. You're asking questions. I'd rather do that anyways. Treasurer and collector. So kind of that wraps up a lot of finance considerations there. Okay. Looking ahead, February 10th, following week, South Shore VOTEC and the Planning Board. That is it at that point for all of our meetings, with the notable exception of Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, which is the 24th. We've been asked if we were able to meet with the Select Board on February 17th. That's school vacation week. I asked if that was a 6 or 7 o'clock meeting, and I have not heard back yet, so I will again follow up on that, because I do have to put a notice in. And I put in today all of the meeting notifications through, I believe it was March 10th. So we're in good shape. So we're on track, March 3rd, to really start our discussions. I budgeted us for 3 weeks to talk, really, Bertie, the whole month of March for us to talk, come up with recommendations. But we also have a potential in there to meet with the Capital Committee. We just need to get confirmation. Kathleen, have you heard anything about a meeting, a joint meeting with the Capital Committee?
Well, I shared with the Capital Committee at our last meeting, which was not last week, got postponed, but the previous meeting, I told them the date that we had scheduled on the Finance Committee's calendar, and I don't have that at the tip of my fingers, but I think it's sometime in March.
Yep, March 17th.
So Stephen Boyce is our chair, and he's prepared, we will be as a committee prepared, but a presentation March 17th.
Okay, all right, so we'll come up with where do we meet, when do we meet, and all that kind of stuff, and great, perfect. I think that puts us in great shape. Beginning of April, we'll have all our recommendations. I'm sure that's when hopefully we'll have a town warrant we can start to maybe do some voting on, rather than half an hour before the
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
I
nice.
have one concern.
Yep.
I have a lot of concern. And that is, unlike last year, where we went in on May 6th with one budget, and it got voted up at town meeting and override miserably failed. And then we had a couple of weeks, nowhere near enough time to come up with a thoughtful second, without the override cutting $2 million. We should have another meeting with the Select Board that addresses the question of, should we be preparing two budgets, with an override and without an override?
Are they preparing to do an override again?
Something.
I don't know. I have not heard specifically that they're planning on trying it, but I've heard them
I
kind
don't
of
think
mention
Is
it.
it an election
It
year?
almost feels like a waste of
Waste of time.
money putting it out there.
Yeah.
It's not going to pass.
No.
What happened with the schools this year?
No.
Not
It
yet.
should pass, but I don't think there's anywhere near an appetite
It's highly
to give
unlikely.
extra
Yeah.
dollars to
Yeah.
right now.
Well, maybe that's our thing for February 17th.
Yeah.
Maybe come
Right,
up with
We could have
some
an honest discussion
numbers
about that. Yeah.
with what we have, and not expecting to be able to get any more.
Yeah, we got a plan for what can we do with the funds that we actually definitely
That we
have.
know.
Yeah, if we put forth, if we're gonna put forth one budget, it's a budget without an override.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we decide to do an override and it miraculously passes, great. We have extra money to spend.
It's not gonna pass.
Are you hearing all that, Kathleen?
I am hearing all of
Yeah.
that, and I completely agree that we put forth a budget that it stays within the constraints of Proposition 2.5. but we had a presentation tonight that probably spent a good 50% of the available new revenue for fiscal '27. So, and Josh is not the only budget manager who is asking for more money than we can afford.
All right.
So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. It's pretty much across the board. We've heard that from everybody. That what I think last week, or I think it was last week, we had the police here.
Fire.
Police or fire. It was 2 weeks ago as the police came in. And chief was telling, here's the budget, and he had, I think, whatever it was, $40,000 for utilities. Right?
Yeah, level funded.
And
Yeah.
I think it was you, I don't know, Kevin, or somebody asked,
it really
is that
realistic?
realistically? And he says, no. They always laughed. He says, no, but I've had that for the last 5 years, because they tell me it's a 0%, and then I have to go and either ask for more money, or I have to use shift money, which should be
from
putting
something
people
else.
out and now pay the bills for keep the lights and the gas going. And that's a problem. If we're artificially putting a budget that looks good on paper, just so we say, see, it's there, and then later on raid free cash all year long because we didn't put a real budget in at the beginning. It's just not right.
Well, we don't really have the luxury of rating free cash real much anymore. We've already
Okay, so
depleted it to the extent where it's not going to be feasible.
Yeah.
It's hard to get any traction when 2.5% is, raises the salary, the labor cost. Just stay with it. I'm in the private sector, and I know sometimes they tighten the belt and people don't get 2.5% or they get nothing.
Yeah.
I've gone through pay cuts. Not saying that's the way to go, but so it's just like there's no way to really make any good move because we don't have much left after all these new contracts are done.
Right.
And unless the state wants to come out and give everybody,
Well, the state
Come on
don't
out.
have money. The state won't have much money.
Yeah.
Nobody does. But, okay. Any other business then for us? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Chuck says yes.
Roll call, Mike?
Roll call.
Yep, sorry, we've got Kathleen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
other Mike, yep,
Larry.
okay, that's it, we're done.